Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So we started off today's class by talking about Nam, and specifically Ram. Ram is the name of existence. It's not the name of a certain individual or person. Whether it's been Shiv, whether it's been Ramchandra Ji, whether it's been anyone, they've all done Simran and contemplated Ram, which is the name we give to the ultimate existence, the very fundamental of everything. Sarvarog ka aukhad naam. Doing Simran of Nam, doing the meditation on Nam, it is possible that every single type of pain, every single type of disease, whether it's of the body, mind, or outside, every type of kalesh, whether it's the kalesh of ignorance, or the kalesh of thinking that the buddhi is Atma, or the kalesh of likes, dislikes, worries of the future, they can all be dissolved with Nam. So let's start talking about Nam. Actually, what really matters is the target of the Nam, the Nami, or the Laksh of the sound. When you're in the womb and when you take birth, you don't have a name, right? You're given a sound identifier by your parents, but originally you don't actually have a name. But it's not possible to function in the world if you don't have some type of identifier. So just like that, in reality, God has no name. Guru Gobind Singh Ji in Jap Sai says, Anam hai. They also say Nirname, right? Gobinde Mukande Udare Apare Hariyang Kariyang. Nirname Akame. So doesn't have a name, Nirname. So actually, this whole fight over whose name is better, which name gets you to God, it's a useless fight. It's an egotistical fight. My version is better than yours. I'm better than you. No matter what type of excuse you use to say that you're better, but it's essentially a fight of the ego. When God doesn't have a name, any name that you use, that you have Shraddha in, there's a possibility it can get you there, provided that the name is being given correctly, the transmission is happening correctly through a guru. Every person has an equal right to connect with existence, which is God. So using a name, an identifier, starts that process off and can take you very far along into that process. Whether you say God, Vaheguru, Allah, Vittal, Ram, Gobind, these names, the name is not even that important. It's who gave it to you, how you practiced it, and whether you reached the Laksh or not. So one is Nam, and the other is Nami. So Swamiji used, where's the pen? Swamiji used the example of a pen, where this is the object. But we can call it in very many different ways. We can say pen. We can say, hey, can you pass me the ballpoint over there? Hey, can you pass me a writing instrument? Oh, can you give me that stick right there? You can call it so many different things, but essentially the target is one. It's just the pen. But now I want to ask you, is the word pen actually the pen? Or does the word pen elicit a remembrance, a vision of its target? So just like that, there are many names, but only one Nami. There's only one existence, one God. But it has many different identifiers, and each of those identifiers individually are not the target. The word is not the target. The word pen is not the pen, but it elicits a remembrance of its target. Especially if the person who taught you what the word pen means, they taught you correctly by showing you, oh, look, this is a pen. That means your pen teaching guru was a good guru. Just like that, the one that teaches you about the Nam, what Nam you're given, and teaches you about the Laksh correctly, which should only happen if the one teaching you knows the Laksh correctly, which means that they would have to be a Brahmgyani. If they teach you it correctly, then when you say the Nam, the identifier is working correctly, right? There's only one Satya, but there's many different names that you can use for this, for the Satya, provided that you have a guru. Because sometimes the question pops up, okay, well, there's so many different things in Gurbani. If I just read Gurbani all day, will that be enough? If I just jap Naam all day, will that be enough? Do I have to find a guru? Then what's the whole concept of finding a guru, getting Naam from them? I mean, there's so many names already in Guru Granth Sahib Ji. There's Govind, Ram, Vahguru. You can just choose one and jap it. But then what about all those other siddhants where the guru is saying, get it from the guru? Then what would the point of that be? It has to be, you have to get it correctly. The technique has to be given to you correctly. However, amongst all of the names of God that we give, that we can say with our tongue, there is one name of God that is not given by someone. It's not culturally attached. It's not attached to a certain community. It is a primordial reverberation of existence. And that this sound, this reverberation is fit into the fabric of nature. You can't own it. Not one community can say, okay, this is our name. In fact, this Naam, we use the word Omkar to represent it, but the word Omkar is not this primordial reverberation, because this primordial reverberation we call Anhadnad. Anhadnad means that it's not being produced by a mechanical movement of air molecules. When I talk, there's a mechanical movement of air molecules. It produces a sound, the eardrums catch it, whatever. Or two things have to come together, whether it's my lips, coming together, or my tongue hitting the roof of my palate, or my palate, or me clapping and creating a sound. Two things have to come together to make this type of mechanical sound. So even me saying Om God, I'm still using my voice box and larynx to produce the sound. It's the best way to identify this primordial sound that can be heard in sadhana. And this Anhadnad is always on at your navel center. And it's on right now, but you can only hear it. You can only hear it when there's a certain level of silence of the vrittis, of the mind, of the body, of the energies. When they're silent enough, it can be heard. It's always on. And when this Anhadnad is heard, the person goes right into samadhi. It's so intoxicating that a person loses itself. This is what Guru Maharaj refers to as Jhim Jhim Varsa Amrita Tara. This sound, which is always on, in deep silence, it intoxicates you. But it's not produced by anything. You can't say it and, oh look, Amrita Nam, I said. It's heard, not produced. So ultimately, I know some of you didn't mention this, but most Nams, especially if the job is happening correctly, every single name will ultimately take you to the Anhadnad, where the outside form, sound, version of the name drops, and this thing that you're hearing that is naturally being produced by existence is heard. It takes you to that position. And then even Anhadnad takes you one step further to the source of that primordial reverberation, which is God, which is Vaheguru. So ultimately, all names, all Naam takes us to the Nami. That's the whole point of doing Naam Simran. Simro Simar Simar Sukh Pavo Kal Kales Tan Mahi Mitavo. Sri Sukhmani Sahib Ji. Simran meaning that you're remembering something or you're thinking of something. And every time you remember or think of something, there's only one of two things that you can think of. Either you can think or remember existence, or you can think and remember non-existence or illusions. Either, better way to say it is, either you can think and remember the whole, or you can think and remember pieces. And if it's a piece, it's not the final destination. In fact, how do we just define the word Vishay Vikar or just Vishay for now? Vishay is not a moral concept. Bad songs, bad movies, these are not the only Vishas. Visha is anything that's a piece, even if it's good. Good, bad is not important. At high levels of sadhana, that thing is dropped. Peaceness is the problem. Peaceality is the problem. Partialness is the problem. I don't know if peaceness or peaceality are words. Partialness is a word. Partialness. But I just like peaceality and peace is better. Maybe we should make them words. That's the problem. Not good or bad pieces. Pieces are the problem. So when you're remembering, either you're going to be in remembrance of the whole of existence, or you're going to be remembering things that are small pieces of the whole. So whether you say Ram, Vaheguru, Om, Govind, Vitthal, you have to get the name from an accomplished being. So Guru Granth Sahib Ji, it's rampant in Guru Granth Sahib Ji where they're saying that give me naam, koi manu naam dave, ya pure gur to manu naam chahida hai. I get naam from a pura guru. So the question becomes, why ask for it? It's right there. Take a name. It's right there. Why do we have to get it? Because to really get naam drid, to really get naam, means that to get the bodh of the nami. So getting naam is not a one-day task that, oh, look, today I got naam, it's done. Proper, really getting naam happens the day that you get bodh of the nami. You get experience of the target of the name. And this has to be mediated by somebody who also has met with the target, who also has siddhi or accomplishment of the name that they're giving you. A guru, a sant, a brahmgyani has to be the one that gives you the name. Nobody else in the whole world holds the authority to give you naam. No matter what type of authority position they're in, if they're not a brahmgyani, if they haven't experienced the nami, they do not hold the authority to give it to you. For example, the Panch Pyare originally, and I'm sure the Panch Pyare 1 or 2 generations afterward were still brahmgyanis. They hold authority to give you naam. At least one of the Panch Pyare has to be a brahmgyani. Otherwise, how are you going to even call them Guru Gobind Singh Ji's roop? Is Guru Gobind Singh Ji's roop just physical? Is it just the name Gobind Singh? Is that it? Is it just the Bana? Or is there something more fundamental to Guru Gobind Singh Ji that has to be there for you to say, oh yes, these 5 are the roop of Guru Gobind Singh Ji? Doesn't Guru Gobind Singh Ji's bodh have to be present in their definition? Otherwise, the name Gobind Singh or the body Gobind Singh, that's not important. There's many other bodies out there. There's many names out there. There's many other people who have the name Govind as well. But what's fundamental to Guru Gobind Singh Ji that makes them God? Isn't it their Brahmbodh? The fact that they're ultimately enlightened? So when you say somebody is the form of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, isn't that a prerequisite that somebody in there also has to have the same enlightenment that Guru Gobind Singh Ji had? It's not just the appearance or the traditional convention of that's enough. It's not enough. So they had the authority to give naam to somebody. But if nobody, if not a single person, the person giving you naam does not have enlightenment, the process it's adhura, it's incomplete. Gyan anjan gur diya, agyan andher binas, har kirpa te sant petya nanak man pragas. I mean, it's very clear in Gurbani what they're saying specifically about who gives you the authority, who has the authority to give you gyan, who has the authority to give you meditative techniques, who holds the authority to give you naam. It has to be by somebody who has it, right? Ab kalu ayo re ik naam bovo. In the past, people needed less. Swamiji talked about this. You had 2 pairs of clothing, it was enough. Have you ever been to actually even today, go to the villages. It's sad because if you go to the villages in Punjab today, most of them just want to come to Canada, right? So it's not even going to work. But let's say you went to a village that was just proper, they were just shant. If you go there and you hang around these people, it's like time slows down. But if you go to downtown or you go somewhere, it's like time, there's not enough time to do anything. Why is it like that? Because in one environment, they don't need anything. They're just enjoying. They're really taking in, they're so sensitive to life, they're taking it all in, and time has slowed down. But in downtown, everything's going so fast, no sensitivity to life, everything's just happening, and all of a sudden the day's over. Because today, the human being is filled with so many desires, right? And you need a lot to live the same type of life that a person might have lived in the past. And the mind is pulled in so many directions. I gotta have this so that I look good enough in society for this. I gotta have this so that I can keep face in front of these people. I gotta have this, this, and this, and whatever. No, I need 10 pairs of jeans, because what if 9 of them get ripped? I'm gonna need the 10th one, right? So I need the 10th pair now. Then I can sit back and relax. Back in the days, they only had 1 pair of clothing. They didn't really think about, oh, what if it gets ripped? Then what am I gonna do? If it happens, it happens. We'll take care of it then. They didn't think so far in the future. So because our mind is being pulled in so many different directions, it's really important for consolidation to happen. Consolidation of the vrittis, consolidation of all of your mental energies has to happen. And the best way to do that is through Nam. Because Nam is just one thing. It's easy to grasp, and you just focus there, and all your vrittis can be consolidated into one area. Right? It helps occupy the mind into the right direction. You had to do Vyakhyam?
No, only one line.
Which one, this one?
Only one line I tell you.
You one? हाँ, आप कर दो व्याख्या।
राम नाम जब अंतर पूजा, प्रभु का सिमरन अंदर की पूजा है।
Swamiji wants to tell you guys about a pankti that comes in Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Ram Naam Japa Antar Puja. If you do Naam Simran, you're doing puja of your innermost existence. All right, so let's move on. Name Rate Home Jai. Rate is a word that comes from the word Rati, and Rati means love. One who loves God's name and loves God, that person's ego gets dissolved. So here's something that we need to know. Sometimes doing Nam Jap actually builds your ego. So what's the difference here? Ego reassures individual identity, and love dissolves individuality. So you have to ask yourself this question. Do you love God so for yourself? Or do you love God for love's sake? For example, are you on this spiritual pathway because the people around you are on a spiritual pathway and you think that you can become better than them? That you really have the capacity, you have better discipline, you can wake up in the morning, you can do 5 hours of job when nobody else can do. Is there a subtle need to be validated spiritually by someone, by something? Maybe subconsciously, maybe just some people silently saying, that person does so much. Sadhana, that person has so much. Shh, don't say anything. Oh, they're coming. Shh. Do you have a silent need for you to be validated like that? That means your individuality is growing. and you're not losing ego here. Do you love God because you want something to be fulfilled for yourself? Maybe you have a pain or a problem and you want that to go away. Maybe it's something else. But if you want it for yourself, if you want to do Nam Jap because you want a result that will help yourself, it's going to establish individuality. That means the home is not going to go away. So you have to ask yourself, do you love God for God, or do you wish to get something from it? Or the other option is, do you wish to just completely destroy yourself for no reason at all? For the experience of ultimate existence, you're ready to destroy yourself for no reason at all. You don't have a particular reason why you want to completely destroy yourself. Maybe the attraction and the love for God is so much that it's making you do it. But sometimes there's this question that comes up, why do I love God? And then you sit there logically thinking, why do I love God? And here's the answer. If you can come up with an answer to that question, the love is still a little bit impure. But if you really can't define why the heck I love God, why the heck I have an attraction to wanting to know existence, I can't define it, then you're on the right pathway. Because your love is on the pathway of becoming conditionless. Because you can't even define why it's happening or why you want it. But if you can define it, that means it's still a little bit impure. So sometimes people say, you know what, I want to meet God for Anand. I want to be happy. I want joy. I want all my pains to go away. I don't want to experience this type of thing. I want to meet God for Anand. And the truth is, I know we say it all the time. Guru Maharaj says it all the time. But really, if you love God for Anand, your love is still a little bit impure. Because who's going to experience the Anand? You, right? Sitting in the position that you are, you're basically saying, I don't want any of this pain, and I just want to be floating in complete ecstasy, and that's why I love God. There's something still there. But to start off, we say it's okay. But really, even at the end, the funny thing about Anand is this: it never comes if you want it. There are bhagats at the highest states that say we don't even want Anand for God. We love God so much that if we have to take on pain, then we're ready for it. I rather take on pain. I don't even want Anand. Main Anand ko bhi thukarata hu. Because I love, for love's sake. There's no condition that I'm only going to love him if I get Anand in return. Then Anand comes. It's a very interesting thing. I always call Anand a diva. Oh, maybe I shouldn't. But it never comes when you want it. It comes when you even relinquish it. Then Param Anand comes. Right? So always ask yourself, am I doing this Nam Japana to establish myself in some way? Or am I doing it because I want to completely dissolve? Think about it this way. If you were capable of doing, let's say, 23 hours of Nam Simran continuously, or you were somebody who has not missed a single Amrit Vela, would you continue to do that if nobody found out that you were so good? What if nobody ever found out how much sadhana you do? Would you be okay with it? If you'd be okay with it, then we're good. What if everybody thought your sadhana was absolute crap, but you were doing really good sadhana? Would you be okay with it? If you'd be okay with it, then you're on the right pathway, because nobody needs to know. Who's gonna know? How are you gonna know? The IG people will know. Anyways, Sampe ko Ishar tyaiye, Sampe purb likhe ka paiye. Reality is, if you're doing non-japna or thinking of God because you want something, Sampe ko Ishar tyaiye. Reality is, Sampe purb likhe ka paiye. what you're meant to get in this lifetime is already been pre-decided. And you're going to get it based on your own karma. So what is it that needs to be fixed? Do we always constantly fix our circumstance, or do we have to fix something up here? Because the circumstance is pre-decided. There are rich people in the world that are really, really sad. And there are really, really poor people in the world that are just so damn happy for no reason at all. And if you give this poor person a lot of money to say, I don't want it, I don't know what to do with it, you can keep it to yourself. They're just so fulfilled by having almost nothing. But there's people that have so much and they're still unfulfilled. Something is wrong up here. There's restructuring that has to happen here. For that, you do nam jap. Something has to go right here. I'm not in line with existence right now. I need to get in line with existence. Right? So one of the ways that you can start to restructure this mind so that you can be happy in every circumstance is gratitude. Kirtagita. No matter what your circumstances, never compare yourself to somebody you think who has more. Because reality is that person's probably lacking in another way. Always say that I'm better off than so many people. It could have been much worse. I am so much better off. Thank you, God, in every single circumstance. Always have gratitude. Don't do jap to show somebody that you're doing jap. And here's the real benefit of having an alive master. See, if you do jap on your own and you don't have anyone who's more advanced than you to always be looking out for you, sometimes this ego comes that I'm really advanced. I'm doing a type of jap that other people aren't keeping up with. I'm getting somewhere. Even if it's just a little, honestly, if you do 25 japji sahibs, which is on, it's not even that hard to do 25 japji sahibs in a day. If you start doing it, all of a sudden, very subtle ego starts to come. But if you're under the guidance of someone who's fully enlightened, how are you going to feel? You're going to feel stupid saying that, because even if you did that, that person is still enlightened and you haven't gotten to that state yet. You can do as much sadhana. In fact, I'll tell you something from personal experience. It's so frustrating living in the guidance of a guru, because no matter what you do, it's never enough. It feels like you're not even doing anything. You can spend your whole day organizing your day in a way that you're actually doing sadhana, but under their guidance, it feels like you didn't even do anything. Then you're frustrated because you're like, nothing happened. It's not happening. Am I doing enough? Something's supposed to happen. Instead of ego building, you're doing the sadhana. You're not even thinking that I did that much sadhana, because they're always there, and you're always understanding that they're at a higher state. You haven't reached that state. There's no reason for ego to build up anywhere. And let's say an ego starts to build up in some way, the guru comes and smacks it right in front of everybody else. It's a really shitty feeling when they knock the ego right out of you, but you need that. Who else is going to do it? Right? So this is the benefit of doing your meditation, your nam japana, under the nirikshan or the guidance of a guru who's alive, who can talk to you, who can look you in the eye and say, you're not there yet. You're not even close. And then your ego's just like, oh shit. Everything that I did was like I didn't even do anything. You're making justice. Where are we? Naam rate home jai, naam rate sach rahe samai. Someone who is constantly in naam, they are dissolved into the existential truth. Now, truth versus existentiality, there's a difference there, but I'm going to skip it because we're low on time. Naam rate sach rahe samai, naam rate jog jugat bichar. With consolidation that happens through nam japana, with consolidation of mental vrittiyas, restructuring of the mind, one starts to understand exactly the type of technique that's required for mukti to happen. They start to understand, they start to contemplate correctly. Their contemplations are exactly spot on. Their contemplations are filled with vivek and vairag because they're mentally, the restructuring has happened really well. Namrate pavahe mokh dwar. The door to ultimate freedom comes as a result of Nam Japana. But, like Guru Maharaj will say in a few lines here too, that it's coming from someone who has also gotten to the end point. Ultimate freedom comes from Brahm Gyan, the lived knowing of Brahm, not the wordly knowing of Brahm, but the lived knowing of Brahm. Gyan means illumination, right? If there's darkness in a room, are you going to pray to the darkness, please darkness, leave, please darkness, leave? Are you going to hit the darkness with a stick? Or are you just going to bring a diva and put it there? Darkness gone, or turn the light on, darkness gone. So Guru Maharaj says, Diva bale andhera jai. They also say another Shabad, Sach bujana aan jalaiye. With true contemplation, aan jalaiye, eho tel diva eo jale. Is tarah jo diva ek jalda hai, sach bujan aan jalaiye, kar chanan sahib tau mila. Sahib ke mein milda hai. How does mukti happen? Kar chanan sahib tau mila. Illuminate. What's illumination? Sach bujan aan jalaiye. Eho tel diva eo jalaye. It's all there as to what they're actually calling the final way to get to mukti. Illumination. It's the lived knowing of Brahm. And then Namrate Tripa Vanisoji Hoy, everything that is meant and worthy to be known is known once Nam has been fully accomplished and you become Mukt. All wisdom that is meant to be known is known. Nanakaram Namrate Sadasukh Hoy. And a person through that illumination gets Sadasukh, which is eternal joy. It's an unperishable type of joy where there's not even the fear that it's going to go away. You know, in this world, when you get happiness, there's always a little subconscious fear that, oh shit, it's going to go away. Oh, it's already changing. It's already perishing. And now something else is going to come in its place. There's not even that fear in Sadasukh, unlike the joys of the world, which are perishable. Then Maharaj says, Namrate Sidh Gosht hoy. That person who has accomplished Nam, is completely rati in it, completely entrenched and drowned in it, that person has the ability to discuss with other Brahmgyanis, because Brahmgyani ki gat Brahmgyani jane, the state of Brahmgyan is only known if you're also a Brahmgyani. So then you hold the authority to actually have goshti and contemplation with other siddhs or people that are also accomplished. Namrate sada tap hoy. Sada tap hoy meaning out of all the most intense meditations you can do, the most fruitful meditation is the practice of Nam, especially, well, no, if it's done under the nirikshan, the guidance of a guru, and if it becomes accomplished, no other tapasya can match that. Sada tap hoy. And once you're in Nam, your tap is happening constantly. Namrate sach karini sar. All actions are correct for somebody who has gotten to the Nami. All actions are correct. Because that person who has become one with Brahm, they're moving existentially. They're flowing with existence. You might think it's wrong. People might say, oh, what they're doing is wrong. But the cosmos, existence is saying, no, what they're doing is right. So they're moving with that divine cosmic order, or we call hukam, right? Namrate sach karini sar. Even what may look like it's wrong to us, from the lens of existence, from the lens of the cosmos, they're walking correctly. And sometimes what looks like we think is right might actually be incorrect from existence's point of view. Namrate gun gyan vichar. Yeah. Namrite gun gyan vichar means that those that are entrenched into nam, specifically that they are hearing that anhadnad, they have access to all of the gyan that is worthy, that is actually called gyan, right? Their contemplation is correct. It's clear. It's tikka. It hits its target very correctly. They don't roam around the bush. They know exactly how it is. Now, if somebody is not enlightened, they're not attuned to the anhadnad, they don't have any experience of reality, then whatever that person says is useless. Really, you're having a harder time on your spiritual journey because you keep listening to useless people. And by useless people, I'm talking about people who are not enlightened, who have not tasted the intoxication of anhadnad. Your biggest problem on your spiritual journey is that you listen to them. And Maharaj is saying, Binanav bola sab bekar, is useless what they're saying. Nanak naam rate tinko jaikar. Those people that are rati, intoxicated into naam, they are honored and celebrated everywhere. So then here they talk about, where do you get this naam from? This naam, which has so much mema, they just did it. Where do you get it from? Pure gur te naam paya jai. Pura guru. How do we define pura guru? Sat purkh jin janya, satgur tiska naam. Someone who has experience of Atma being Brahm, they are completely resolved that their Atma is Brahm through primary experience, not secondary knowledge from somebody else, but through primary experience. They have the authority to then transfer that to an eligible disciple. That person is called a guru. There have been many gurus. Ashtavakra, Krishna, Janak became a guru afterwards. Anybody who has been like Ramanand, Gulal, Dadu Dayal Ji, anybody who has ever become enlightened, they hold the authority to be a guru. Only someone who is enlightened can give naam, otherwise it cannot be given. Pure Gurte Naam Paya Jai. You might conduct the ceremony, you might do all of the conventions that might look like, oh yes, Naam Dan Deta, but the transfer is incomplete. And that's why people's lives don't change. You think you got Naam, but something is still left, didn't happen fully. If someone is giving you Naam, no matter how much religious authority they hold, you should ask, have you experienced the Nami yet, whose Naam you're giving me? Because if they haven't, then they don't hold the authority, no matter how religious they might look. According to the Guru, they don't have the authority to give it. Pure Gurte Naam Paya Jai. Jog Jugat Sach Rahasamai. The Guru gives techniques, and they also give an inner mapping, which we call Gyan, so that the Naam can be accomplished and done properly in the right way. But let's say, it's not like a one-time thing where the Guru gives you Naam and that's it. Along the way, there's so many ways that you can slip up. So many things can go wrong. Maybe what you contemplated one time was correct, but you know how you play telephone and the message changes eventually? Well, you can play telephone with your head too, and the message changes eventually, and all of a sudden, you've been sidetracking for a while. The Guru and a live master makes sure that you're not sidetracking, that you're on the right path. They're not going to walk for you, but they're going to make sure that as you're walking in the right direction. Barah Mahjogi Parmai Sannyasi Chehchar. The 12 schools of the yogis and 10 schools of the sannyasis, 99% of people are deluded. And you can include Sikhs in this, you can include Hindus in this, you can include every single sampradaya in this. Because unless Gur Ke Sabd Jo Mar Jeev So Pai Mukhdwar hasn't happened, if you haven't even gone to the Guru, understood the teachings, surrendered to them, how can you say that you're going on the right path, no matter what type of spiritual school you belong to, no matter what type of taksal or sampradaya you belong to? How can you know you're right? 99% of the yogis in the 12 schools, 10 schools of sannyas are deluded. 1% knowing the method of Guru Shish transfer. 1% still know the real target and they go on that pathway. But this ratio of 99% to 1% applies across the board, not just to the sannyasis and yogis, across the board. Unless Gur ka sabd jo mar jeev. This is so hard to do. I'm talking from personal experience. Gur ka sabd jo mar jeev. And as I'm progressing on my journey, it's becoming so clear that I have to die. That part's scary. Because dying just doesn't mean that you leave the body. That part's easy. Dying means I have to relinquish all self-respect. I have to relinquish having any type of status in the world. I can't have, I can't lean on a career to make me looking like in front of people, oh look, she has an amazing career. I can't lean on anything. I can't even lean on my own sadhana, because even though I'm doing sadhana, it feels like I'm not doing anything. And it's becoming so clear, Gur ka sabd jo mar jeev, even on my own personal path, that I have to die. And that part's scary. You know, this is something else when it's said, and when you're living through this, and when you start to see, you know, Maharaj kehte, Jugati apne aap pata chalne lag jandi hai mannu, that your mind starts to understand the final technique. The final technique is to die while you're alive. That's the final technique. But it's something else when it's said, and it's something else when it's lived. And even on this pathway to dying, there's so much resistance because I've never experienced that type of dying. I've experienced leaving the body, but I'm still very fully intact. The mind is still very fully intact. But this type of dying, there's so much resistance because you just don't want to let go. You don't understand what's going to happen. Obviously, the more resistance you have, the longer your journey is going to be. But this is very true. And I can tell you from a lived perspective. Gur ka sabd jo mar jeev, so pai mokh dwar. Mukti only happens when every part of you dies. And the Guru's Shabad becomes primary, and anything that your mind says, no matter how logical it is, has to take second seat. And trust me, I was a scientist. I spent 16 years in a system that teaches you to be very logical, very systematic. A to B, B to C. A equals B, therefore then blah, 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 whatever. And all of that has to go down the drain. And you have to come to the world of the illogical, the world of you are second here, somebody else is first. So that's hard to do, but this is how mukti happens. One who dies taking the teachings of the Guru, meaning individual ego and identity are surrendered, that person lives eternally free. If you think that you're a body and mind, you're prone to birth and death, pains and anxieties. But if you go beyond the body and mind, which, you know, when you say go beyond the body and mind, it seems like, oh yeah, I just have to go beyond the body and mind. But this dying process that's happening, this is going beyond the mind, is very hard. But only beyond this mind is where you become immortal, where existence, where you get to know the truth. And even saying that is wrong. You're not going to be there anymore. It's gone. You're going to be gone. If you don't have a guru and you're not contemplating their teachings, even their sahaj teachings, then a person remains deluded. I can tell you that I can be in the presence of my guru, and if I start to give my own mind priority, I get deluded. And then I have to pay the price for that a few days later. So that's me under the guidance, one-on-one guidance of a guru. I'm just thinking about people who don't even have a guru, who are not underneath the one-on-one guidance. How far-reaching their delusion must be. My delusion happens, I pay the price a couple days later or just the same day, and then I realize, oh shit, shouldn't have listened to my mind. Quick But a person who doesn't even have that one-on-one, how far-reaching their delusion must be. I mean, it scares me to think that, and I'm so thankful that I'm in a position where my delusion gets erased by the evening time. So without contemplating on enlightened beings' teachings, a person remains deluded. देखो हृदय विचार, नानक वड्डे से वड्डभागी जिनी सच रखया उरतार. That person in whose heart lives the existential truth, who knows in full resolve through primary experience that the Atma is Brahm, such a person is the most exalted. So, what has to be done? While you're walking, while you're talking, while you're eating, sleeping, and while you're sitting silently, jap Nam. And make sure that you've gotten Nam from someone who holds the authority to give it to you, and then just drown. Go hard. But always have the guidance of the Guru there. So that's it for today. Please forgive me for my mistakes.